Welcome to the No BS Spiritual Book Club's live streaming interview series, where leading new thought teachers, speakers, and authors share the intimate stories behind the 10 best spiritual books that inspired them the most on their spiritual journey. From well-known classics to hidden gems you might never have heard of, the No BS Spiritual Book Club saves you time and money by sharing reliable recommendations from those who've walked the path before you. The No BS Spiritual Book Club, the only no BS guide to the best spiritual books to inspire your own journey of self-discovery. Here's your host, founder of the No BS Spiritual Book Club, Sandie Sedgbeer.
Welcome to the No BS Spiritual Book Club's face-to-face with video series, where the contributors to our library of 10 best lists join us to share the stories behind the books that move them the most on their spiritual journeys. And this week, my eyes are watering. This week we're face-to-face for the second time. Unfortunately, our first one we had to abort because we had technical issues, but bless her heart, she's come back to join us today. We're face-to-face with a woman who, for me, truly embodies a quality that many of us spend a lifetime pursuing, and that quality is grace. And the woman is Iyanla Vanzant, one of, if not the most widely regarded person in America as a celebrated New Thought spiritual teacher and inspirational public speaker. In addition to being the author of 15 books, which have been translated into 23 languages, with sales exceeding 8 million copies, and numerous CDs, television, radio, and stage performances, Iyanla is, of course, the much-loved host and executive producer of the award-winning hit Iyanla, Fix My Life, on Oprah Winfrey's own network. Now, just before we start, if you have any questions that you want to ask Iyanla, just type them in the chat window as we go along. Include your name and your location, and Sharon will read them out for us later in the show. Now, Iyanla, welcome back, and thank you for coming back to join us.
Thank you for having me back. It's so great to be back.
It's our privilege. First, tell me, are you an avid reader?
I used to be an avid reader. I don't like to read when I'm writing, and I've been doing a lot of writing. But yeah. So I would say I'm avid-ish.
Ish.
Avid, but tell me avid-ish.
Yeah, I love that word ish. It's a lot of room for maneuver. Was it difficult for you to come up with 10 books that, topped your list? Did you have to kind of move a lot around?
Yeah, I did. I think the top 10, it was, I had probably 50, but the top 10 that I know are my go-tos. These are the ones. And then I also chose the top 10 that I remember most by memory. I can quote you something out of any of these 10 books. It just pops into the top of my mind. So that's how I did it.
Those kinds of books are the ones that I call my bookworms. They stick with you, and you find yourself telling your friends about them all the time, and they just kind of won't get out of your head.
Yes, that is for sure. So I think if I had to pick one book, it would really be a toss-up between A Course in Miracles and the Bible. Mm-hmm. But I don't read the Bible as a religious book. I read the Bible as a metaphysical recipe book.
Yeah. Mm. And that becomes quite clear as we go through your list, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just a little bit, I'm sure everybody knows who you are. I don't know how much they know of your story, but you truly have had more than your fair share of sorrow and challenges in your life. But being raised by an extremely strict grandmother, being raped at an appallingly young age, being a mum by the age of 16, 3 children by the time you're 21, an abusive marriage, becoming a single mum, having to live on welfare and go to school to train as an attorney, and working incredibly hard. And, you had amazing success with your books. but then you nursed and lost your daughter to colon cancer. And so your life has been one of continual ups and downs and lots of challenges to overcome. And certainly in my book, there can be few people have more right than you do to show others how to rise up from rock bottom and fix their lives, or to boldly say, and not without compassion, get over it. No matter what life throws at you, there is a way to heal the hard stuff, which is, of course, the title of one of your most recent books. So to have you here telling us about the books that inspired you the most, you know, every time I get a listing from a contributor, I love it and I'm inspired by them, but I think that yours has to be a truly wonderful guidepost, I think, for people, because you've walked that path and you've walked it in sorrow, and it's like walking through mud at times. It must have been so hard for you. So your books I'm extremely excited to share with everybody, because I think they carry a lot of substance, and that's what I'm looking for, is the substance. So let's start with book one, which is a book that you insist all of your students read first, and that is Love Without Conditions by Paul Ferrini.
Yes.
Now that was published in 1995, I think. So what was it about that book that really touched you?
Well, I was raised in the traditional, strict, archaic Pentecostal church, where Jesus was going to get you and God was going to pluck your eye out. And I mean, all of the things. And so I was scared of God. I was scared of the concept of God. I was too afraid not to believe in God or Jesus. But I was afraid of them because of the way I had been programmed. And I'll never forget when I must have been maybe 7 or 8. And a big thing in the Pentecostal, the apostolic faith, is that you have to be saved. Now, saved from what? I never really truly found out, but whatever it was, I was going to get saved from it. So I must have been about 7 or 8 years old, and I had your baptism when you accept Jesus as your Lord and Savior and everything. And unfortunately, adults don't explain spiritual or religious things to children. They just tell you what to do, and you do it because you're told, not because you understand. So I didn't understand. I just knew I was getting baptized and I was going to be saved. Okay, fine. So when we got to the ceremony and, all the pomp and circumstance, and then they ask you, do you accept Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior? And, in the church, there is Jesus hanging on the cross over my head. And nobody told me. So I looked up and I said, who, him? He can't help me. Oh my God. Not only did I embarrass the church, now I'm going straight to hell because I'm blaspheming the Lord.
No saving you.
Oh my God. It was horrible. I got snatched and beaten and, So I stayed loyal to the Christian dogma because I was afraid to do anything else. And then I met many things, but Paul Ferrini was one of them, where he speaks to the tenets and the teachings of the Christ directly to you in a voice. And really, for me, dismantled some of the brick walls that had been placed up around in my relationship between me and the Creator. So that's what I did, Love Without Conditions. I love it.
So did that come as a big revelation to you?
Well, I had already been studying the Course in Miracles for many years by the time I found Ferrini. But I think what he did, one of the things that he says in there, he gave tenets that you could apply to your behavior very easily. One of the page 66, every nail you hammer in your brother's hand keeps you on the cross. In other words, everything that you have to say about somebody else It's going to keep you in prison. And I had a lot of people on a lot of crosses. And then I said, you know, let me take them down. We need the wood.
Yeah, for sure. You know, one of the things you wrote about this is that it answers so many questions about how and why it is absolutely essential for us to do our own independent investigation of all things spiritual. Yeah. And I think that is so important. You know, we have to feel it within ourselves, and we have to learn it for ourselves.
And you have to build that relationship, you know, with whatever the source is that you're looking at. You have to have that relationship. For example, you can't have a relationship with what you know about your partner, your husband, your spouse. You have to be in the relationship. And I think the same thing is true with the divine. You have to be in that relationship and have your own experience based on your own investigation, not based on what someone told you.
Have you ever met Paul Ferrini?
Oh, yes. I've met him. He's done classes at my center. I've done work with him. Yeah, I have. He's really sweet.
So book number 2 is The Course in Miracles, which is the big one, as you said, if you had to pick one. Helen Schucman, published in 1976. When did you come across that book?
It was 1984, 85. And I know that because my daughter was 10. Yeah, 1984, 1985.
And how did it impact you at the time?
Well, it's so funny because I had a friend who was talking about it, and she took me to a meeting. They had a Course in Miracles study group, because it's not a book that you can pick up and read. I mean, you can, but you probably will just pull your eyes out afterwards. But so I picked up she took me to the study group, and there were 2 very strange things about the study group. First of all, I was the only person of color in the group. So that was number one. They were looking at me, I was looking at them. And then when they started speaking, it really altered the syntax of my brain. It really did. They were doing 2 particular lessons this day that I went to the meeting. And one was, there is nothing my holiness cannot do. I will never forget that. There is nothing my holiness cannot do. That thing right there, it just changed my entire life. Because I first had to get in touch with my holiness, not the one that had been given to me. And then to understand what it was and to grow in it. So I stayed in that study group, the only little person of color in there, and they loved me and I loved them for about 2 years. And I went every day, and we would discuss a lesson, and we would discuss a passage, and then you would go and apply it. And it was just because I had been so beaten so badly by the Bible. It was freeing for me to find something that took the teachings of the Christ and put them in a way that made sense, you know, in everyday living. You know, the language was a little off, but because we discussed it. So I learned the Course in Miracles in the study group, and it's probably the only book that has taken me 35 years to read.
You did write that, you know, when you came across that book, when you joined that study group, you needed miracles in your life. Yeah. Did you get them?
I got miracles in my mind, and that's what created the miracles in my life.
Yeah.
Miracles in my mind. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. And it's amazing how many times that book comes up. I think, you know, 5 months, 10 months, you know, a few years down the road, we'll add up which book's been mentioned the most, and I wouldn't mind betting it's going to be that one.
Yeah. If you are on the spiritual path, if you're on the path to self-awareness, if you're on the path of just being on purpose in the world, you're going to bump into A Course in Miracles. You have to. You have to.
Yeah. So book number 3, Legacy of the Heart, The Spiritual Advantages of a Painful Childhood, by Wayne Muller. And you had a painful childhood. So at what point in your life did you come across this book?
I think I was preparing my curriculum to teach other people, you know, and you teach what you most need to learn.
Yeah.
And he was a Simon & Schuster author when I was a Simon & Schuster author. So frequently they would send me, you know, copies of the books that were being released. So that's really how this came into my hands. And also the other thing that he did was he does a very nice integration of the teachings of Jesus or the Christ and the teachings of Buddha. And, you know, I was afraid of Buddha. I thought he was going to send me to hell. So it was so good, you know, to see that and then to understand the benefits, if you will, of some of the experiences that I had in childhood. I had done a lot of work on them, energy work and healing work, but really to understand it here, what I had gotten. Was very, very helpful. And I think the thing that I remember out of Legacy of the Heart is when he talks about learning how to speak up for yourself. And he says, you know, the Buddha teaches, is it kind? Is it necessary? Can you say it? Is it loving? Can you say it in a way that you would need to hear it? I tell you, there's a line that I remember out of all of these books, and that is the one from Legacy of the Heart, which is so important because sometimes when we have unhealed places, we speak in an unhealed way. And in doing so, we wound other people. So that was such a powerful thing, you know, so I that's just been, you know, do I need to say this right now? And can I say it in the way I would want to hear it?
Yeah.
And, yeah.
That is so important. And right now, as we're in the midst of this, you know, global lockdown, and well into it, far enough into it that people are beginning to get very frustrated and fatigued by it all. I'm seeing a lot of people who are having meltdowns, you know, and I've done it myself. And to hear you say that is a great reminder.
Yeah.
You know.
I'm not sure. I guess I must be from another planet because I'm having an absolute ball.
Well, I'm glad you are.
You know, I don't know what to be upset about, so I'm not upset. I guess because I'm not an introvert, but I'm introverted. I know how to be in the public. I work in the public. I work with people all of the time. So to be home in my house with my toys and tricks, I love it. I'm just loving it.
And you've done your work, you know, so what you teach others, you know, is so ingrained in you now. So you have that ability to rest in that and be comfortable in that, where others are still trying to struggle to find it. Others like me, I'm talking about.
One of the greatest gifts that I was given, and it's been many, many years, is when I do the 40-day silent retreat. There are times, I've done it probably now about 10 times, 40 days, where I don't speak at all. And you start your day in meditation, you end your day in meditation. And during that time, you really have to pull yourself in because you can't really be out in the world not speaking. So I've done that. I've done 10-day silent retreats. I've done 2 vision quests where you're on the hill by yourself for 3 days. So maybe I was just prepared for it.
What do you, when you do that, when you go into a silent retreat, what do you most notice when you come out of it?
How crazy the world is. And how crazy people are. And when I say crazy, I mean it in a loving way. You know, just what I notice is just how programmed and conditioned we are, how disconnected from ourselves we are, how disconnected from ourselves we are. You know, we don't give ourselves permission to feel. We don't give ourselves the grace, really, of our vulnerability as human beings. And we're so busy moving that we're so abusive to one another and just dismissive of one another. And we're just not we're not connected to what really matters most. And when you spend 40 days in silence with yourself, oh, you get connected and clear.
And everything you've said, isn't that exactly what this pandemic is giving us an opportunity to experience and to understand?
But we are fighting it. We're still fighting it. We're in the opportunity to be still, wondering when we're going to get out and talk.
Yeah. But still, you know, when we look on Facebook and we see all these wonderful videos that are being made where people are showing us, you know, what we have to appreciate. And, you know, I know a lot of people who are actually saying, you know, I'm actually enjoying this.
Yeah.
I'm actually enjoying the time with my kids.
Right.
I'm enjoying, you know, being able to not have to rush out to work in the morning and have more time to appreciate things.
Yeah. Well, I'm definitely enjoying it. The only thing, when I was outside, because I live on my own land and it's behind the fence, I was outside naked under the full moon. I said, Iyanla, you have lost it, child.
What do they call that? Sky dancing.
Yeah. Or moon bathing. I was
moon bathing.
Yeah, I was outside and naked under the tree. I was like, okay, it's time.
Well, good for you. I'm sure we'd all love to do a bit of that. So book number 4 is The Science of Mind by Ernest Holmes.
Yeah. I think one of the, and this had to be maybe, my niece was born in 74. She was 6. So probably around 1980 when I was introduced to the Religious Science Foundation. And religious science is a metaphysical approach to Christianity. And Ernest Holmes was the founder and teacher. And it really supported me. I started in a metaphysical Bible class, and then it went into some of Holmes's work. And it really is the science of the mind, how the mind works in a universal perspective. And yeah, I love that one right there.
and that book really has influenced the whole New Thought movement.
Yes, it really has.
Yeah. And I think that there was an influence there in that book for your book, Get Over It.
Yes,
right?
Absolutely. Get Over It, and also One Day My Soul, all of them, because it's all about the mind. When we understand that everything begins in mind, and what the laws of the mind are, and what the laws of, metaphysics are, when we understand that, really, we can create anything. We can live just free. And so I was a Science of Mind groupie, really learning and understanding. But because I learned that I loved the Bible, I just didn't love the way it was taught and how it was used. But Science of Mind gave me the metaphysical interpretation of it. So I'm good to go.
Yeah, absolutely. So book number 5, I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings by Maya Angelou.
Yeah.
I mean, what a person. Yeah, what a book.
And here's a person that, as a result of the violence she experienced, didn't speak for 9 years. Didn't speak. And, I knew Dr. Angelo, and I loved her so deeply. And just reading this book just helped me really marvel at the tenaciousness of the human spirit, and how she came through and came back from what she had experienced, which was very similar to what I had experienced. And it's just a classic work. And her voice, if you know her voice, when you read this book, you can hear her speaking it right to you. It's really bizarre.
Yeah, I love, and I don't know if you said this or if I picked it up from somewhere else, but it's a story of how the imprint of a family need not become the blueprint of your life.
That's right. Absolutely. Yeah.
So, Lisa Bourbeau Your body's telling you love yourself. I had a copy of that book. I loaned it to someone. I've never seen it since, and I've missed it ever since. So tell me what you love about that book.
She gives the metaphysical explanation for diseases. You know, I've been fortunate and blessed. I've never been sick a day in my life. But once I understood the power of the mind and its influence on the body, voraciously, I just began to look at everything that spoke to how the body can be used, how the mind can be used to heal the body. So from Louise Hay's You Can Heal Your Life, to Your Body Believes Every Word You Say, to this book, you know, Your Body's Telling You to Love Yourself, really helping people understand the role the mind plays in, you know, the health of your body. And because I was teaching coaching, I was teaching coaching at the time, just really wanted a resource to get people that people could use to help with their clients. So, and then and I think it was 2016 when I got sick, my colon ruptured, and I had never been sick a day in my life. And so when my colon ruptured and I almost died, I was like, "Ooh, what's going on in my mind?" So I went running to get that book and find out. And I used it a lot when my daughter was going through colon cancer. And we did a lot of the exercises in there. So it's just a really great resource book. But in today's world where people have such poor health, I think they need to take a look at it. Yeah.
I mean, your daughter unfortunately died. You know, that must have been really hard for you, knowing that, you know, we can heal ourselves. We know that because people have. And sometimes it's not the right thing for that person.
Well, that wasn't her contract. She had a soul contract.
Yeah.
I'm very clear about that now. Of course, as a mom, you know, when she was going through it, I just wanted her to be well and be here forever. But that wasn't her contract. And as a metaphysician, I knew and understood that. And she had a commitment to live. But she also had this thought. She wrote it in her journal. She used to say it to me all the time. She says, "I just want to be of greater service to God, whatever that looks like." That's what she used to say. I just want to be of greater service to God, whatever that looks like. And so what it looks like is she's on the other side. There's a light and a you know, a guide and a teacher, and that's what it looks like. So, you know, of course, as a human being, flesh and blood mother, you know, I ain't like that.
Of course not. Of course not. But are you able to connect with her?
Yes, absolutely. That's how I know it was her contract.
Yeah.
You know, she's still my buddy. You know, and one of the things that I know as a metaphysician is life doesn't end when the body is buried. That doesn't end life. It just doesn't. So everything is energy. Everything is energy. So I can tap into her energy. I hear her. I don't see her. Thank goodness. I couldn't handle the seeing, because I am a human and I am a mom, and that was my baby, you know?
Yeah.
And so it's a very, we still have a great relationship. She still fusses at me. I can hear her so clearly say, "What are you doing?"
Arms crossed. Yeah. Shaking her head.
It's funny because, you know, in life they say you eventually become your mother.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm telling you, I think it happens on the other side too. One day I was going out and I had on something that I knew was ridiculous. And I could hear Jamia in my head say, "You cannot go out of here looking like that." And I changed my clothes. So yeah, but it's a very good resource, this book. It's because it gives you the mental, the emotional, and the spiritual underpinnings and issues under many, many diseases. So it's very good.
Yeah. So book number 7 is When Things Fall Apart by Pemish Chodron. 2002 she published that.
Yes.
So what was it about that one?
The self-care frontation, where she self-care frontation, not confrontation. Care frontation. Because if you care about yourself, there comes the moment when you have to look at your stuff. You can be ridiculous. So, and usually you really can't see it until things fall apart. The marriage falls apart, or somebody hurts you, or there's a betrayal, or there's a breakdown. Because human beings, it's like we get turned on by pain. You know, we don't pay attention when things are good. We have to be down and dragging. And she talks about that. When things fall apart, there's a beautiful opportunity for you to carefront yourself, for you to look at yourself, for your behavior, your beliefs, your everything. So I just think it's wonderful. And Pema Chodron is definitely one of my teachers, although I've never been in a room with her. I've never had a conversation with her. But from when things fall apart, to do the things that scare you, go to the places that scare you, just all of her work. It just speaks to me. And I think that's important when people are reading, to find that author, that writer that speaks to you, where in you're reading it, you can almost hear them talking into your ears. I think that's when you know. So she's one of my teachers.
Yeah,
absolutely. And really has given me a deeper understanding of the tenets and the practice of Buddhism.
So book number 8 is The Miracle of Mindfulness, a manual on meditation by Thich Nhat Hanh.
Yes.
Another book that many people mention.
Another one of my teachers. And just for me, as growing up Christian, you're taught not to meditate. You don't meditate. Unless you're meditating on the word, meaning meditating on the Bible. And so, but as a yoga enthusiast and just as a breath enthusiast, it was all of this talk about meditation. So I really wanted to have an understanding of it. And mindfulness, it's just, where you can walk and talk and live and eat and breathe in the constant state of meditation. So just being mindful moment by moment of what you're thinking, what you're feeling, what you're saying, because we're so disconnected, Sandie. We are so disconnected. We walk through life and, we think that we know what's going on, and we can't tell the difference between grief and gas. You think you got gas and you're mourning something.
Yeah, that's so true. So true. And then we catch ourselves and think, how did I miss that?
Yeah, how did I miss that? And I think I noticed, because I had lived with so much instability and dysfunction, that I must have been about 35 years old when I realized that I wasn't even present for half of my life. Well, when did that happen? When did I have that baby? And how did I get here? So mindfulness was a practice that I could grow. And Thich Nhat Hanh is probably one of the best teachers for me in that. Thich Nhat Hanh and also Jack Kornfield. Yeah.
So number 9, The Way of Mastery by Shanti Christo Foundation.
Baby. Yes. Yes. I just want to be more loving. That's a quote by Howard Thurman, who was a great mystic and theological teacher. And I carry that in my heart. So when The Way of Mastery was introduced to me, it's 3 books in one. And the first one is The Way of the Heart. Oh, let me get that. I want to know the way of the heart. So it's The Way of the Heart and The Way of Transformation. And written very much like the Course in Miracles, the voice of the Christ speaking to you. But this, let me tell you. I can't, I don't even know what to say. It's just mind blowing. It keeps me breathing deeply. It keeps me in self-reflection and self-correction. That's what I love about it. Whereas the Course in Miracles gives you the tenets and the principles and asks you questions. The Way of Mastery gives you the tenets, the principles, and then tells you how to correct it. Oh, I love it. I could just lick it. I could lick the cover.
You could eat it, yeah.
Yes.
I love the words you wrote about that. You said that what I've discovered is that the best way to move through this work is to breathe deeply, place the edge of the book to your forehead,
Yes.
contemplate and ask for what will serve you best at this moment.
That's right.
Then open the book.
Then open the book. It never fails me. Sometimes I throw it. I throw it across the room and then I have to go get it. Yeah. It's an experience. It's not a book. It's an experience. And if you do that, if you just open it and see where it is and read it'll never fail you. It will never fail you.
Yeah, and the Shanti Christo Foundation is a 501c3 not-for-profit organisation.
Yes.
So, when we buy the book, we're supporting the organisation too.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so number 10, by an author that you had to think long and hard before you mentioned their book, because it was one of your own.
Yes.
Called Until Today. So
Yes.
why did you have to think long and hard before mentioning your own book?
Because I'm still healing the programming of being, pride, having pride.
Ego, pride, yeah.
As opposed to being proud, but I'm still healing that. It's very hard for me to do any level of self-promotion at all. Still, it is. But I'm aware of it. So now when I find myself shrinking back, there's nothing my holiness cannot do. Okay. Yeah. Let me remember my function. I go to my Course in Miracles lessons. Okay. And so that was one thing. And then, all the programming around, being selfish. And actually, let me look around, make sure nobody's listening. When I look at the leadership of the United States today and how that person promotes themselves, I don't want to be associated with that.
Yeah.
But I knew that I was being mindful, and this book represents what I have taught for the past 35 years, spiritual law and principle. And it's everything. It's the metaphysics, it's the thinking, it's the contemplation, it's the reflection, it's the affirmation. And I really am honored to have been chosen to present this work in the world. Not that I'm proud of the book, but I believe I was chosen to present this work in the world. Yeah.
Now, it teaches the universal law and the spiritual principles, 12 months, 12 principles, and a different approach to the same principle every day of the month. What was the inspiration for the book?
I really have to say, Sandie, that it was channeled. I got the principles, and then I would get the messages. Some of them I came out of my journal of things that I had learned over the years. But when I recognize and realize that so many people are just ignorant to how the universe operates and what spiritual laws are and what spiritual principles are, and then they hear it as a word, oh yeah, I know what that is, but can you live it? And what Until Today does is it gives you the information to incorporate spiritual principles into your life, because you're working on one for a month. So when we talk about acknowledgement, you say, oh, you're high. That's an acknowledgement. Oh, you look nice. That's an acknowledgement. But what does it mean to acknowledge everything in you and about you, and to acknowledge others? What does that really mean? And that's what we look at in Until Today. Or when we talk about forgiveness, people think it's like a one-shot deal. But how do you live forgiveness? How do you walk it? How do you talk it? How do you breathe it? How do you demonstrate it? That's what Until Today teaches.
Beautiful. You know, one of the things I love about you is that you address everybody as beloved.
Yeah.
What does that word mean to you?
Be the love that you were created to be. You know, we say the creator or God is love. So all of us were created by love, in love. We call the act of copulation making love. So we were created by love, in love, and then we come here and act wretched. So when I say that, I want to remind people of their authentic identity. The other thing is, it's really a command. Not do love, not do loving things, not get love, not have love, be love. Be love. And even in my highest dysfunction, and this was way before I became conscious, when my children were little and like my son would torture his sisters, I would say, is that loving? Is that loving? I always said that and I never knew why, you know? And then to have the desire to be more loving in my heart and to learn about love and to learn about God as love. So I call everybody beloved because that's what's going to save you. Your ability to receive love, to give love, to live love. Because when you're in trouble, Sandie can't help you. Love can. When you're in trouble, Iyanla can't help you. I can't help you. But love can. The love in my heart, the love I have for you, the love of the Creator. So, yeah, let's be love.
You know, I've read several of your books, and one in particular has really impacted me in a big way, and that was Piece by Pieces. And that is pretty much your memoir, the story of your life, and the things that happen to you in your life. And, you know, I know everybody can say, oh, you know, I had a challenging childhood. You really did have a challenging childhood. How and when do you think that you got to the place where you could let go? Because most of us hang on to it. To let go of that and to forgive people in your life. And I mean, you're such a joyous, happy, always smiling and laughing person.
I know.
And, you know, I want some of that. So, you know, how did you do that?
I'm telling you, there is nothing my holiness cannot do. That statement changed my life. And then I had to do the work to live into my holiness, you know, because my holiness was not raped. My holiness was not abandoned. My holiness was not abused. My holiness was not dysfunctional. So I had to live into my holiness. There is nothing my holiness cannot do. And then it's funny because, you know, I really am a metaphysician. I really am. That is what I am. You know, in the olden days, I guess they would call me a witch because a metaphysician is one that understands and can change energy, you know, alchemy, if you will. And so but through understanding the metaphysics of life, the spiritual law and principle, how the mind operates, what the spirit is, you know, my experience and culture as a Tishleki native or a Cherokee, as the English tongue would say. And I'm on purpose, you know, I don't know. That's just what I do. So, and everything that I've written about, I had to experience. I had to learn forgiveness. You know, I don't want to forgive you. I want to be mad at you. You know, and I don't want to be responsible for my dysfunctional relationships. I'd rather be a victim of him. But when I really got to understand how the mind works, I'm like, well, why would you invite that into your life? What were you thinking? But because I wasn't present, I wasn't here. I was over there. I was back there. I was up there. I was in the future. Let me just be right here, right now, you know? So
I love that phrase. There's nothing my holiness cannot do. I mean, it calls us to account, doesn't it? It causes us to rise up to that part of us that is so much bigger, you know, than the part that wants to be victim or be angry or,
I didn't make a very good victim, because it was exhausting.
It is. It is.
Oh my Lord, blaming people and holding people responsible and blah, blah, blah. And I'll tell you a quick story. I was in and out of the same relationship with the same man over a course of 40 years. 40 years. He married somebody else. I married somebody else. We come back together. He married somebody. So 40 years. And we were married twice. You know, some lessons you learn harder than others. So when our last marriage broke up, I was so devastated. I was just, I told myself I was devastated. I wasn't really devastated. But anyway, I'm driving along one day in the rain, and just the song came on the radio, and I just started weeping. You know, here I am, Iyanla Vanzant. I've been on Oprah, and my beautiful husband leaves me publicly, and it's just terrible. It's just terrible. And when I pulled over to the side of the road, what I realized was I wasn't upset that he had left me. I was upset that he had left me before I had left him. Because I knew I should have been gone. But the image and the mood about. The other thing that I learned was that I didn't have to stop loving him. I could love him, but I had to acknowledge that we were not good together. The other thing I had to acknowledge was that the need he filled for me when we first met, when I was 13 and he was 17, I no longer had that need. I was no longer who I was, and neither was he. But because we loved each other so much, we thought we had to be together.
Yes.
We didn't. We didn't. So we still love each other. He's married again. He's married twice since then. And, you know, he calls me. We talk all the time. So I recognize I don't have to stop loving you. But I have to acknowledge that we're just not good together. We're just not. And so, again, that's because I understand the law, I understand spiritual principle, and I understand my heart.
You know, I can so relate to that. I really can. I remember when I parted from somebody and thought I was devastated. And then one day it just hit me. You know, actually the love has not gone anywhere. The love still is.
Yeah. And
we both feel it. It's not meant to be demonstrated in this way.
Yeah.
And that was such a revelation to me. And it brought me so much peace.
Yeah, that's what it is. Peace, absolute peace. And even with my daughter, when Jamia passed, you know, I mean, that took me out of my right mind. Really, it did. But once I understood, this is what happened. We had a building, I had a school, and one day I was going into the building and I was dreading it because everything, the paint on the walls, the chairs, the carpet, she had built everything. And I was going in and I was just weeping and dragging, nose running, just being just a mess. And I heard her so clearly say to me, release the physicality. I'm right here. Release the physicality. And what I realized was I was trying to hold on to the physical her when I had the energetic, the spiritual her right here. She used to call me Mumsy. Mumsy, release the physicality. It's causing your suffering. Release it. And I was like, oh my God. I got out of that building. I sold that building. Because I was holding on. I had her car. I had the building. I had her furniture. She said, release the physicality. And once I did that, I was good. I was okay.
Iyanla, you are such an inspiration. You really are. And I'm sure you hear that over and over again. I'm going to open it up for questions now because I'm sure there's lots of things that people want to ask you.
Okay.
Sharon, have we got some questions for Iyanla?
Yes, and comments. But first of all, thank you, Iyanla, for being the light.
Thank you.
For us, inspiring each of us to be our own light. So thank you. Let's see. Sandie, the first one is can you give an email address for people to contact you if they want to give feedback to either Iyanla or to you?
I'm surprised to see that people are getting bounce backs. The newsletter, the address that comes from, is a good address for me, and it does work. So what I would say is, if you write to that address and it gets bounced back, try again, because I do hear of this from time to time. There is another address, which is SandieSedg@gmail.com. SandieSedg@gmail.com.
Thank you.
And, I'll answer everybody.
Okay. Annalisa from France is saying, I'm really enjoying this interview. So inspired to apply the principles. Want to get her book immediately. And she has a question that says, I wanted to know, how does Iyanla feel the critic face the critic regarding the COVID-19, regarding her book 6, Love Your Body, and is quoted as, there's nothing to fear regarding COVID-19. I feel exactly the same way and having such a beautiful time, but I am called that I am in denial and blind to the facts. Yet I find myself shrinking. Any advice?
Well, what people think of me is none of my business. Really, that's Terry Cole Whitaker. All people think of you is none of your business. And you have to be mindful. I don't. Like I said, I've been saying I feel ashamed because I'm not I haven't had a meltdown. I'm not dragging around. I'm looking for, what am I going to do next? What's my next late night snack? The late night snacking, So I would say to you, beloved, to just be mindful of the environment that you're in and what you share and how you share it, and let people share whatever they want to share. When people come to me with all their melt, I said, okay, I hear that. That's not my experience. So tell me how I can support you. That's it. Because I'm not going to get down in that with you. And you don't have to have the same experience as everybody else. And they don't have to have the same one as you. Just be mindful, like I said, of what you share, how much you share, and who you're sharing it with. But don't give up your joy for that.
Good advice. Very good advice.
Let's see. This is from Frances Mary, and it says, I absolutely love this interview. Your questions, Sandie, are exciting and spot on, and Iyanla, you're a teacher beyond compare. You truly walk your talk and are widely inspiring. I deeply agree with pretty much all you shared, and it is so moving to hear you speak so heartfully, joyfully, honestly, and with common sense about what really matters beyond our beliefs about life. Thank you both so very much.
Well, thank you. What a beautiful comment.
That's lovely.
Let's see. Jane, you have achieved so much clarity and growth. Do you have goals now?
No. Gave up goals a long time ago. Because first of all, I'm too old. I can't remember them. I can't remember what was I doing? I can't even find my glasses half the time. But I do have a vision, and I do hold a vision. And there are some things that I would like to experience and accomplish, not achieve, but accomplish. And yeah, but goals, got to do this, got to do that, no, I don't have no goals.
Would you share any of those things with us, or are they private?
No, we've been talking, so I really, I'm just, and the corona, I call it the corona. The corona has really helped me understand the technology so that I can teach online. Because I did antiviral message 49 consecutive days every morning from 10 to 11 o'clock. I had people from all over the world on Facebook. And I was always so intimidated by technology, I would never do anything. I have learned that I can teach online, and I enjoy it. And
That's fun, isn't
enjoy
it?
the international audience. I do. I had people from France and London and Berlin and all over Africa. It was just, and we created a community. You know, Christians, Buddhists, atheists, my atheist used to say, what are you doing to me? I'm an atheist, but I love your messages. I said, well, just go on and be an atheist. Ain't nobody, that's all right. So my other vision, you know, my mission in life is to facilitate and support the evolution of human consciousness. One mind, one heart, one life, one spirit at a time. So if I can touch one person, I'm good. Technology helps me touch millions because there's some people that Jane will reach that I'll never reach. But if her consciousness is elevated, she'll elevate someone else. And you know, they say women, if we know something, 10 other women know it.
Yes.
So that's my vision, to just continue to work and teach to facilitate the evolution of human consciousness.
This is the bit I love about technology, is that it brings us all so much closer. I mean, you've got fans all over the world. Your books have been translated into multiple languages, and those people would never have an opportunity to experience you other than reading a book or watching you on TV. But now they can experience you.
Every morning at 10 o'clock, we were together. Yeah. And I think that it's important, particularly for me as a woman of color, because when you look around the world right now, there are few people who look like me who are offering anything to consciousness outside of the traditional realms, you know, the church or politics or whatever. And I'm a different bird. I'm a very different bird, you know, African on my mother's side, Native American on my father's side, born in, you know, American crazy. So I'm bringing a whole nother vibe. And I just love people, Sandie. I love people. I love them. I think we're crazy as hell. And I think we're wonderful.
Yeah. Well, I'm constantly impressed and in awe of how creative we all are.
Yes. Yeah. That's a good word for it, creative.
Yeah. In our misery and in our joy.
Yes. But also how tenacious we are, and how courageous we are, and how strong we are, and how miraculous we are. But we don't stand in that. No. We don't stand in that. We stand in our brokenness. We stand in our sorrow. We stand in our upset. We stand in our ugliness. We don't stand in our courage and our tenacity and our perseverance. And that's what I want people to do more often. You know, celebrate yourself. Celebrate yourself. You know, last night, I didn't eat the cashews and the potato chips. I just ate the potato chips. Yay! Yes.
What would you want as your epitaph? Would it be that wonderful phrase that you mentioned earlier, standing in my holiness, or to have something else up your sleeve?
I would say call a thing a thing.
Call a
thing a thing. If a thing is a thing, don't call it something else. Call a thing a thing. If you're sad, call it sad. If you're mad, call it mad. If you're happy, call it happy. If you're ugly, call it ugly. Call a thing a thing. Because one of the things that gets us in trouble is we don't call a thing a thing. We make excuses for things and we ignore things. That thing we got in the White House, that's a thing. And we need to call it what it is. Okay?
It is a thing. It's a big thing.
I don't know what kind of thing it is, but it's a thing. And so I'm not calling it a president. I'm not calling it that. That ain't what it is. So call a thing, and then make inquiry and tell the truth about what you know and what you see and what you feel. Tell the truth about who you are. Tell the truth about who you are. Stop just being your brokenness and your upset and your daddy left you, mama hates you. Stop being that. Tell the truth about your divinity, your holiness. Yeah, tell the truth about that. Call a thing a thing.
Okay, call a thing a thing. I'm going to hold on to that one. Iyanla, before we bring it to an end, just tell us a little bit about your spa events and anything else that you've got up your sleeve at the moment that's
okay, up my
coming
sleeve.
soon. Yeah, up your sleeve.
Every month I do a gathering called the Spiritual Spa, and it's online, and where I'm talking about something that we need. Like last month we did breaking family patterns, because so many of us, our family tree puts a noose around our neck. And like you had said earlier about the blueprint. So once a month I do it, and people from all over the world again come, and I give people things to do, homework, because I believe, this healing, growing, evolving, it's not an intellectual construct. You got to do the work. I don't want to just entertain you and you listen to me because I'm beautiful and intelligent. Go do some work. So we do the Spiritual Spa once a month, every Saturday morning, 10 o'clock our time. I don't know what time it is for you. I'm doing the antiviral message. I did it for 49 days straight. Now we go to Saturdays. Getting ready to do training online that grew out of the corona, spiritual warrior training.
Good.
So that people will learn how to be spiritual warriors, not earthly soldiers, because there's a distinction. And then this Saturday on OWN, I've got a new show coming on that grew out of the virus, also called Fear Not. And I'm talking about the 3 basic human fears that we all brought into the pandemic. We're blaming the pandemic for everything. And the truth is, most of what we are experiencing, the bad relationships, the inability to be with ourselves, the not knowing how to be still and quiet, the fear of the future, fear of death, then we brought that in with us. The corona just triggered it up.
Yeah.
But it was already there. So that's what I'm doing. And just trying to get this one little hair right here on my chin. It's so little. I keep plucking at it, but so that's what I'm doing.
Okay, good. Any new books on the horizon?
Actually, I'm pregnant with the book.
Okay.
I'm pregnant with the book now. The challenge that I see people have is accountability. We do not want to be accountable for what we think, what we say, what we do. We don't want to be accountable for how we feel. We rather blame and project. We don't want to be accountable. But I've got to, I've just conceived, so I got to let it grow.
Okay, good. All right, you've got to water that plant.
Yes, I've got to have morning sickness and swollen feet. And
Yeah. Absolutely. Okay, one last question for you before we wrap up, and that is, on your website, you have some products that you really, really love. Tell us what it is about these products that you love so much.
Well, the product is the Masterpiece Body Therapy line. My grandmother was a Cherokee Native American, natural-born herbalist. She taught me about herbalism, so I'm a homegrown herbalist. And my daughter, Jamia, the one that passed away, she was a natural-born aromatherapist. She started at a young age, smelling this, smelling that, putting this together. She would take all my perfumes and mix them up, And then when she was about 18 years old, she went and studied aromatherapy and became a certified master aromatherapist. And the other thing about Jamia was Jamia could see energy. She could see it. She would, ooh, that person is green. Or, oh, look at the black on here. I don't know. From the time she was like 12. So she started this line of products called Masterpiece, hair products, because she said hair was like an antenna. It sent out energy and it received energy. And she would use essential oils, and I would give her herbs that would help clear the energy in your hair. That's what's her thing. And after she passed away, I was just kind of guided to revive the line, but not for hair, for the body, because we all carry energy. There's energy on us, in us, around us. And a lot of times we can't clear ourselves from experiences because we don't clear our energy. We're still carrying the energy of the divorce, of the death, of the violation, of the rape, of the being fired, of the trauma. We're still carrying the energy. So Masterpiece Body Therapy Products is a line of products that I'm handmade for 13 years that include essential oils, herbs, designed to clear your energy as you clean your body. The other thing is that I make them with African black soap. African black soap is probably one of the most natural forms of soap on the planet, still handmade by women in Africa, women and men. And it uses the least combination of lye and oil. Because any soap, in order to get buzz, the saponification, you have to have lye. But the combination of lye and oil determines what it does on your skin. So because African black soap is made with palm ash, and it's made with cocoa pods, and it's made with shea butter, it doesn't have the chemical reaction that strips your skin. So my base in my body products is all African black soap. And then I add herbs and oils and an affirmation that'll help you clear your energy as you clean your body. So that's why we call it body therapy, because we got to have a better relationship with our body. I think the corona has taught us that too. You got to have a better relationship with your body. So yeah, Masterpiece Body Therapy, and it's Jamia's legacy. Yeah.
Oh, that's beautiful. What a way to honor your daughter.
Yes. Well, she honored me. She chose me. You know, she could have chose you.
Yeah.
She chose me. Ooh. Yeah.
Iyanla Vanzant, I can't tell you how thrilled I am to have had this time with you. I'm glad it all worked out on this occasion and we didn't have any outages. Thank you for coming back and joining us. And just thank you for being you.
Deep bow to everybody. Deep bow of love. Deep bow of support. Take good care. Thank you, Sandie. Deep bow to you.
Thank you, Iyanla. So for more information about Iyanla's work, her books, her TV program, everything that she's doing, and including that wonderful range of energy clearing body products, you can visit her website at iyanlavanzant.com. I'll be back again next week with another guest. We'll be back to our normal time of 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern, and 6 p.m. UK. I hope you'll join me then.
If today's conversation sparked your curiosity, you'll love our other shows. The Synergy Sessions, where leading-edge thinkers collide in bold, unscripted dialogues that ignite new possibilities. Between Realms and Reason, where we journey into the mysterious consciousness, energy, and the hidden layers of reality, where science converges with spirit in ways you've never imagined. And the No BS Spiritual Book Club, where leading-edge new thought speakers, teachers, authors, and luminaries who've walked this path before you share the 10 books that had the biggest impact on their life journey. All 3 shows are available on YouTube, Spotify, Substack, and all major podcast platforms. For more information, visit sedgbeer.com. That's SEDGBEER.com.